Coming up on OTH, Raymond and I talk a bit about LEC and LCS content before jumping right into the LCS Championship Playoffs with the previous 4 matches that were played last weekend and the final 2 that are coming up next weekend. We hope you enjoyed this episode of On the Hunt. Welcome, everybody, to On the Hunt, a League of Legends podcast. I'm your co-host, Chris, aka the Controller Gamer. Because sometimes, dude, I prefer the touch and feel of a controller over keyboard and mouse sometimes. Especially for, like, natively console games that were, like, ported to PC. Your boy grew up with the PlayStation, so I like the DualShock controller.
That's fair. What's a game that you play controller that most people play keyboard or mouse?
I would say my coronavirus game was like Call of Duty Warzone, and so I like to play
controller. Okay.
I like to play with controller even though I was on PC. However, eventually I switched over to mouse and keyboard because I found that I had a better time controlling the recoil with mouse and keyboard, but also my aim is terrible. So then like I would bounce back and forth for aim assist. But I think I think by the end of it I was still better on controller overall, but there were some things I could do better on with mouse and keyboard, like pretty much just holding the aim still or like hitting people farther away.
Yeah, that makes sense. That tracks. All right, I'll allow it.
All right, thank you, man. Thank you. And this other lovely voice you're hearing on this podcast is our other co-host, Raymond. How's it hanging?
It's hanging good, dude. Just been doing my thing. Been playing Civ games, Humankind. That's been pretty fun.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. I haven't got too far into it. I was playing a Civ 6 game and I had to like finish it. And so I spent most of the free time that I had was finishing that, and then I'm like 40 turns in to a Humankind game. It's kind of cool. There's a lot going on that I like don't know what I'm doing, but it's neat.
Yeah, it's kind of cool when you pick something up that's like in the same genre of another game that you like, but it's like it's different in its own way. Like I used to really like turn-based games, I guess. Like I played a lot of Fire Emblem as a kid, and then like that XCOM game came out that like ended up being really popular.
Yeah.
Which is just like another turn-based game, and it's just kind of cool that like that genre or like that style of game can be like manipulated in different ways, or like how important is the story and characters relative to the gameplay. It's just really interesting. And I guess I used to really like strategy as well, but now I'm just a brain off Malzahar player.
Yeah, and except for MOBAs, right? Like we only play League of Legends. I'm not touching Dota 2. Not touching Heroes of the Storm.
Yeah. Have you ever played Hero of the Storm, or any other like MOBA, I guess?
I've played Heroes of the Storm some. I think when it first came out, probably like gave it a try for a little while. I know I've had some friends who have played it like certainly more than that. And I don't remember going back to it. Maybe just for a game or two. It was okay.
Yeah. Kind of same here. I think I dabbled in it in like 2016 or 2017 around then, and it was fine. It was kind of a cool game, unique.
Yeah. I have tried to play Dota 2 before, and just like I only played probably like 2 games, and that was probably like my buddies. We only played probably like 2 games, but I just had no fucking clue what I was doing. Probably had to do with the characters I was doing, but I didn't know like how the builds made any sense or like when to shop, and I couldn't jungle. I think one of the heroes I was playing was like supposed to be a jungler, and I was trying to play jungle, but I didn't know how to control it at all. It was fucked.
Oh man, yeah. I think I've only ever played Dota 2 back in like 2012, and yeah, I just played like 3 or 4 games or something like that of like some spider girl who she has flash on like one of her skills. But it's called a blink in that game, and so that's all I remember. And like honestly, back then it was kind of cool because they had like recommended builds, and they had like a recommended tab, and also like same thing for leveling up your skills, like recommended skills to level up. Even like back then, I guess
I knew like they had it. I think the cool thing they had was like community builds, right? Like in the game, I could pick like there were like
Yeah,
14
it was
different like
basically
suggested recommended community builds or whatever, and I was like, okay, sure,
yeah, it was like I remember that too. It was like pretty much like pro builds or like that kind of thing, like imported
right,
into your game, but like always there.
yeah,
So I just remember that was pretty cool, and then just never played it again. I knew for sure that like I didn't like the way towers worked in that game, and then I um obviously like denying creeps was like a really weird concept to me. I feel like every auto attack in that game is really fucking weird. Every like auto animation, the turn rate thing is really weird. How like you actually have to take time to turn around.
hmm
That doesn't make sense to me. But that was like almost 10 years ago now, so whatever.
yeah.
And then I think I played that Smite game. I
Oh,
I
that's right.
rem-
I played Smite before I played League. I was convinced that I was like, Smite's so much better, dude. I remember telling one of my friends that I was like, Smite's so much better, dude. That was in like season 2.
uh-huh. It's funny because like you can play Smite with like a controller. I'm pretty sure.
But
But
yeah, it's like on
anyways,
Xbox and stuff, I think.
yeah. That game's okay actually. I would. It is kind of weird because like you don't auto attack in that game. Not really.
Well, you kind of do, but it's like every auto attack is like a skill shot, right? You
Yeah,
just
you
attack
just like
freely.
hold left
I thought
click.
that was
Yeah.
kind of cool.
Oh, okay. Yeah, actually, like trying to like playing that after playing League, it's like so I can miss my auto attacks.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it felt.
I,
So
I think I
I didn't
remember
really get into it.
I remember playing that like I think that was the first MOBA that I like played, kind of frequently, and so that was like coming from Call of Duty. I was like, oh hell yeah, dude! Like I can actually like aim and shit, and like in League you don't do that. That's pussy shit. You just click on him forehead.
Uh huh. Yeah, I think I don't what the god that I liked was like a dog, probably
Yeah,
called like Cerberus or something.
yeah. I played Wukong in
And
that
he
game. I remember,
oh,
and like the
okay.
Katarina clone.
Uh
That
huh.
champ was fun.
Yeah, I think there was another one I tried out. It's like a her Q is like ribbon or something like that. That's all
Mm,
I remember. Anyways, we're gathered here today on this blessed day to talk about some League of Legends.
heck yeah.
Gonna be a bit of a quick one, we think, but we can just get started with any content that you've
We
seen in the
always
last
think that
week.
though. Yeah, let
We
me go
always think
first.
that.
Let me go first because we're already on the trend of not talking about League, and so I'll get it in before we actually talk about more League stuff. The only content that I feel like I need to shout out this week, did you watch any of, or do you know who Germa is, the Twitch streamer?
No.
So Germa does like whack stream shit. I think it was either in relation to I think it was the stuff that he did this last week. Scar made a tweet and it was something like, "I love watching Germa. It's just like watching a live stream straight into an like insane person's brain." Um, and he did like a in real life like Twitch chat controls Sims, and like he was the Sim person, and they had like this warehouse where he just had they built this like studio set kind of dollhouse, and then they had on the screen like at all times was like his little Sims meters, like hygiene and bladder and food and energy and shit like that. And then every few minutes, like something would pop up on Twitch that would have like the chat vote on what he should do, like if he should like take a nap or like go outside or do some shit like that. And then he would just like act out whatever the action that people took was. It was hella weird and like not always like obviously funny, but it was super. I don't know. It was entertaining for sure. I liked it.
That actually sounds really interesting and kind of a neat concept, I guess.
Yeah,
Like Twitch plays Pokemon, but with you.
yeah.
Twitch
With
plays
like
you.
the streamer,
Yeah.
it was like he did it like over 3 days, and like every day, like in between, there was like some improvements that would be made to the house. Like they made new rooms or something. Like he was just moving in, and they were like building new rooms. It was fucking funny. And they had
Dang.
some like planned scenarios with like other streamers would show up or actors. It was interesting.
Dang. You know, that randomly reminds me of like the Team Curse apartment that they had back in like 2013 where like they had cameras on all the time or some shit.
Yeah, I remember I was watching. I think Double Lifted Videos talked about it this weekend on one of their co-streams, and I
Oh,
don't think I
really?
was watching League when that stuff happened, but yeah, they talked about like like Elements and Curse and Saint getting into a like huge fight that was just live streamed like while they were practicing. Just
Uh-huh.
these two guys getting in a fucking insane like kind of just weird shouting match in their practice room. And I was like, why would you show that to people? But they did. That's
Yeah,
how it
dude.
was.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy that they had that back then. So back to league content.
Yeah, bring us back. Re-listen.
Okay. I probably listened to the usual stuff, the dive, the intro to Hotline League. I think I listened to the crackdown with Guy, the
Giotto.
IMT coach.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that one was interesting, but I don't remember anything from it. But I remember that I enjoyed it, oddly enough. And I think that's it. Oh, and TSM Legends. I
True.
did watch that
Yeah,
one.
true.
Yeah. And then the LCS games from this weekend is my content.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's probably most of what I watched with League was just LEC and LCS playoffs because that was what was going on for 8 days. Well, 4 days, but like both of them were playing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can talk about that now that you mentioned it. Yeah, I saw a couple of LEC games this weekend because I just woke up and had nothing else to watch. So it was like 10 a.m. probably. Just threw it on. I think I watched both Fnatic games on Friday and Sunday. I want to say.
Hmm.
Um, and I was actually kind of impressed with Fnatic. Seeing them, I've actually never seen a game of them. Buppo Jungle and Adam Top. Uh,
Yeah.
Literally, it was my first time watching them, and it felt like watching a legacy team of just like, well, they've got these players and their experience, so anything can happen in the game. Like any comeback can happen. Like there's no doom scenario where like you're there's no like LS super scenario of like, oh, because these things happen and because these champions exist that the game should be
Game's
over.
over. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't feel like that watching Fnatic. And I don't know if it's a matter of their opponents, but I would chalk it
I
up
think
to
it's
them.
Hylissang, dude. I like that guy's an animal. The whole team kind of
Yeah,
is. Like Bwipo, Hylissang, and Niski are all just I don't know. You never know what's gonna happen, kind of.
yeah. I felt that way because I think I saw them have a comeback game against Misfits on Friday, and then I think I caught a bit of Game 5 of Fnatic versus G2 on Sunday, and
Hmm.
it felt like they could be a disruptor at Worlds. I don't know if they'll really be consistently at a strong level, but I feel like they could steal some games away and maybe end up like 3-3, but like a 3-3, but in third place. But like you kind of fucked someone else's like seeding up or something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It'll depend, right? I mean, every team is gonna have Korea and China in it, so you're guaranteeing
That's
like you have to
true.
beat one of them, right? Um, Assuming that play-ins go as expected, I guess. I don't know if I think fourth seed of those teams have to do play-ins, right, or something. Anyway,
I would think so. Yeah.
um, but yeah, so you assume you have to beat like at least one of those teams. I could see Fnatic. I mean, they'll probably be in a harder group as like the well, I guess they haven't decided seeds yet, right? It's just who's qualified. But like they could definitely, I think, take a playoff spot away, or the upper bracket. Make it out of groups. I could see it. It all depends on matchups and stuff, but they look pretty good.
Yeah. And then before we talk LCS, I'll want to say rest in peace G2. Seems like
Yeah,
that roster probably won't stay together, and then just kind of a shame that most of those players won't be back to Worlds this year. After that organization has been there for like maybe like 4 or 5 years now.
yeah, that's an interesting one for sure. I don't know. The GT roster almost feels you see it's like weird because they've done so much, right? It's like in a way it's kind of like 2017 TSM like breaking up. Like you've seen them like look so good and so dominant. Like G2's made world finals like twice, right? Or once, and like semifinals, and they beat RNG the year before when nobody knew anything about it, right? Like they've had such high highs as a team, and they've been so dominant in EU. Like it's hard to believe like that they should even break up that team at all, right? Especially after you pick up Reckless. Like if I had to pick somebody on that team you told me going into off season like you have to change something. I don't know who I would change. Like I could probably make good guesses, but like it doesn't feel good to take out anybody of those teams.
Yeah, I think so too. Even and I don't know any of their situation. I don't know if Wonder is still a raider, a full time raider, or anything I literally have no idea. So
I
I
did
wouldn't know either.
I did hear some pretty troll stories. Did you hear any of those about Wonder and Adam when they scrimmed before he was on Fnatic?
Is it something about like Yumi top?
Hmm.
Okay, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
think I heard like a bit of that.
It was like Adam picked Olaf, like that's one of his, like he played it in the series. They won a game with Olaf top, like that's a signature pick of his, and then he picked Darius in game 5 too. So that he's like those are kind of his champs. And it was in EU Masters that he won. So like the end of spring split, and they had scrimmed against G2, and he picked Olaf top, and Wonder just like insta locked Yumi in draft and was like, "You're not giving me good practice by picking Olaf top. Like that's not real. So I'm just trolling." And
That's
then
funny.
Adam said something in game like when he picked Olaf and he didn't pick Yumi, he was like, "No Yumi Sag" in all chat. So it's pretty spicy.
That's funny. Okay, and then is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, I don't think so. I mean, there's still, top three for both leagues, so we'll see how things shake out
Yeah,
as
definitely.
the playoffs end.
Yeah. Oh, that reminds me. I think I was watching. I think it was Mad Lions versus G2. I don't know when this was. Maybe it was on Thursday, but I don't
I think it would have
remember.
been last week, last
Okay,
Saturday.
that must have been the case. Yeah, and whoever the AD carry for Mad Lions is insane in the good way.
Yeah, Karzi. I
Is
think,
that Carzy? Yeah.
yeah, Karzi and Kaiser. I think honestly, I don't know. He's very up and down from what I've seen. Like sometimes he's very good, and other times it's like, bro, they have to replace you. Like, there's no way that you can't find a better ADC. Like just sometimes he makes like wild decisions. He's a little reckless. Not in G2 reckless, but like actually spelled with a
Okay.
C reckless.
Maybe like a little wild turtle.
Yeah. Like I think if it was like Karzi and Hillsong on a team, like you'd always be going in, and they'd always like think like somehow like this is gonna work kind of thing, you know?
Okay, then I learned something today. That's the last I have to say about LEC.
That's fair. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good on LEC for now. We can continue with the real leagues, the World
Okay.
Contenders leagues.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so we're
We
changing
can
our
move.
show to be LPL.
No, I would be so sad to talk about like 20 teams every week. That
Yeah,
would just
that's
be way
true.
too much to keep up with.
Hot take, I think LCS should expand, but anyway, continue. We won't go into that now. That's for another time.
Yeah, maybe bring that back. Bring that up again in like 3 months.
Yeah.
That's I'm a little interested in what you would have to say about that. Dang, I feel kind of teased. But anyways, LCS Championship Playoffs.
Subscribe to our
For
Patreon if you want to know.
yeah, or Fansly.
Oh, true. Yeah.
I'm actually I'm on top of the alternatives right now for OnlyFans.
Yeah, that really
I,
impacted your cash flow.
yeah, my stable income. No, I just it's just been all over Twitter and like you just can't ignore it, man.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, LCS playoffs.
LCS playoffs. We'll get there eventually, maybe.
Last week we had 4 matches with 6 different teams. Starting off on Thursday, we had EG versus C9, which ended in a swift 3-0 for C9, if I remember correctly.
Yes, sir.
And just kind of a disappointing way for EG to go out, and kind of nice to see C9 do well against EG, but yeah, just really anticlimactic when I feel like many narratives have been running amok about EG being like deserving of worlds after their play during the regular split, and then also just their style of play as a team. That it makes you feel like that's the kind of team that you would want to see represent NA,
Yeah.
with just the way that they had seemingly reckless aggression with both solo lanes and then kind of a wild card bottom lane as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit it on the nose. Again, I think the one the thing I took away from the series was that I still don't know what they were doing with their junglers. It still doesn't make any sense to me, like how they were deciding on the rotation. Um, we watched last week when they played 100 Thieves and closer, right? The whole series went like they gave closer Viego like 4 games in a row, right? And then Spencer comes in game 5 and plays Viego, and you think like, oh, maybe that's like what the thing is. Like they just want Sven for Viego, or it's the upper bracket they can afford to lose, so they're giving contract stage time, whatever, whatever. And then they go into this series and they start with contracts again, and then they go game 2, bring Svenskeren back in. I don't know. It didn't make sense to me. I didn't understand what was going on.
Yeah, I don't really. I think to this day, maybe no one will ever know what they were trying to do for real there.
Yeah.
Eh,
Well, maybe somebody will tell us. Maybe Svenskeren was raiding with Wonder, and that was why.
yeah, I
Because it was
just
late to practice.
yeah, just kind of weird to think that like, and I was watching this thing. I might have even said this last week where like now these teams are just on off season starting now. So like for the next 4 or 5 months, like
Yeah.
we're not even gonna hear from these people. And then like I don't watch streams or anything, so it's not like I'm gonna watch these people stream in like November or something like that. Or I don't know if, and I doubt there's gonna be an All Stars or something like that.
They'll probably have something, right? Maybe
Yeah,
not
just
like
to
the
fill in
normal
the
All
gap.
Stars, but just like they did an All Stars like per region or something, or like rivalry regions last year, didn't they? So that you still had something. Seems
Oh, that's
to try.
that would actually be pretty fun to,
Yeah,
I guess, end the year with something like that. And then yeah, if we do have another lock-in tournament or something like that, that would be exciting to look forward to with the new season, I suppose. Which maybe
yeah,
we can set that as a side topic for the future as well.
yeah. That's probably a good point.
Anything else for like EG versus C9 though? Because I honestly that series blew by so fast that I don't remember very much of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I mean, we've already covered about as long as it took for them to play it. So I think we tracked. C9 looked pretty good, and EG, I don't know if it was EG not showing up on the day or C9 just like being that good in the matchup or what. But yeah, it was definitely a lopsided series.
Yeah, definitely. And then for Friday, we had TSM versus IMT, which ended in a 3-1 for TSM. Pretty. The way that I felt about this series is that and then the games that TSM was winning, it felt like, oh yeah, this is first place versus seventh place.
Yeah, yeah. Even the game that they lost, it still kind of felt like it. It was just like the very beginning of the game, Xerxes just got out of control on his Zinjao. Like he was 7 kills at 10 minutes. It's hard to play that game, no matter what the teams are.
Yeah,
But yeah, definitely just felt like kind of an overall outclassing by TSM for sure.
yeah. So in the end of it, I guess now that we saw TSM also play against Cloud9, I suppose I would have a better reading on like their overall power level, and it is probably around fourth or fifth place. So I think that where they end up in the end is kind of like just deserving of where they should be, and there was a lot of competition this year, and so I
Yeah,
guess
yeah. I
go
mean,
ahead.
it's interesting, right? Like I think somebody said it as like a little tongue in cheek, but a little like it could be legitimate. Like the complaints that TSM had about not getting dynamic seeding or whatever, right? In the upper bracket and not getting to pick who they fought in the next round, um, like could have really changed things for them. Like I don't know, from my read on it, how things played out these last couple weekends, it really seems like TL and C9 are two of like probably the top two. Like that would be my call. Um, which makes EG and 100 Thieves right like at least 3 and 4. Um, and if TSM is on that side, like TSM has only lost to Cloud9 and Team Liquid, right? And they could have had games against 100 Thieves and EG who apparently didn't look as good in playoffs, unless like, but if you're like, they've only won series against each other, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a little interesting. Um,
If they could have
not
had picked
yeah,
their opponent.
yeah. Like I wonder if you would have picked EG. Like I don't know that I would have back then. Like I think going into the playoffs, everyone was kind of like EG might be the best team, and the other ones are fakers above them, you know. But then that clearly didn't prove right. Um, I don't know, man. It's interesting to think about, but probably it's just excuses. I think, yeah, they didn't look that great come playoffs. I don't know. The C9 series I think looked like really good. I don't know. I wouldn't feel I feel bad because it felt so close, but I don't feel bad about how they played in that series. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Anything else for TSM versus IMT? Also, just kind of a like formalities, so to speak.
Yeah, a little bit. I almost I didn't expect these two series, the first two, to be so formal lower brackets. Like last week felt like, you know, it's like, oh, okay, we're just playing lower brackets to give these guys a chance. But this week I didn't think would be like that, and it still kind of felt like that.
Yeah, and because TSM did like a 3-1 to IMT, I didn't have like miracle run feelings from like last year the same way.
Yeah,
It seemed like just please get out of the way IMT, and then like I'm trying to get to Worlds, and then a real opponent stood in the way at that point.
yeah, right. Like this would have been um something like last season. It was like the Golden Guardians rematch was the one that was their first real lower bracket test, right? Like they didn't that was what this would have been, but it was definitely just a yeah, move aside, step aside.
Yeah. And then for Saturday's game, we had 100 Thieves versus TL, which did go to 5 games. And I actually have a higher opinion of 100 Thieves than I think you do, because I kind of enjoyed the way that I felt like this series was pretty close. Although in the end, the games that TL won, I believe Alfari like didn't die in all 3 of those games.
Yeah.
And so it seems like, if TL has their way, then they're gonna stomp the game, and then if you happen to just grab an early lead, then maybe 100 Thieves can run away with it, or at least fight back at certain points of the game. But anyways, Alfari looked really good on the Jace in this series, probably the best Jace I've seen all playoffs. He looks really confident on it, um, and just really commanding of Jace. Not and I'm just reminded of like Impact's Jace versus Someday in the EG versus 100 Thieves series, and then Hooney's Jace in the series on Sunday as well. And I wasn't impressed by any of their Jaces, only Alfari's is what I can think of. And then also just impressed with Jensen as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the thing that felt weird to me watching this series is that a lot of it felt like I could have watched it all just on like a second monitor. Like the first few games felt like it was stomps one way or another. You know, like the game two, 100 Thieves played like the FBI like Vayne into Ziggs pick, and that felt like a good counter for them, and they totally stomped with it. They had early game was a few fights that just got like way out of hand, and then 100 Thieves
Yeah.
like would not be stopped, right? And then like there were a couple of TL wins there where it was also like TL just stomping and being, you know, looking untouchable from their point of view. Um, and then by the like game four felt like almost uneventful for a while. Like both teams felt like, oh shit, we've gotten socked in the face. Let's take a breather. And then game five, I don't know, I honestly don't even remember game five that much. Um, but I don't know, like I wasn't on the edge of my seat for a lot of it. It was just kind of like, oh, 100 Thieves might actually win. That'd be interesting. But then TL won anyway.
Yeah, I kind of echo that feeling. And then one thing that I can also take away from this series is that they were trying to put Someday on Ornn for a couple of these games, and I'm not sure if I like that. I don't know if it's just a against Alfari kind of thing, but I wonder how that's gonna play out when they play against C9, if it's gonna be like similar picks for 100 Thieves.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I'm remembering. I'm remembering earlier in the year. I guess it was spring. I think it was spring because I think it was about Niles. And I remember Doublelift giving Niles like a fuck ton of shit for like picking Jace into like Impact, right? It was like Impact's gonna pick Ornn or whatever, and just you're you're picking Jace because you're trying to like ego like win the lane, and it's fucking Impact. Like the guy's won worlds and been like a top laner for the last 8 years. Like you're not gonna beat him by picking Jace, and he's not gonna let you stomp the lane, kind of thing. Um, and I feel like that might just be how Someday felt. It was like, look, they're gonna play through Alfari. Like we know that. Like I might not, we can play volatile, and I can go Aurelia into you know Camille or whatever, and we'll see who comes out on top. But it's just gonna be like they probably play that style all day long, where it's TL just focuses top and sends everybody. Cora will go up there, Santorin will path up there, Jensen can play LeBlanc and Rome or whatever, and they'll win those fights top. Well, 100 Thieves is like, we'd rather play through Abadage and FBI and Huhi and just play around closer and not have to cover a super volatile top lane. So they'll let Someday just kind of play the easy shit in a way and neutralize as best as he can. That's how I'd see it. I don't know. I feel like C9 is more likely to just man up against him. But at the same time, yeah, I guess for Someday, I don't know that Fudge also seems more like the kind to be cool with playing shit for his team and not have to, like the Tom Kench picks and stuff like that. Like he'll do that.
Yeah, I agree. That's probably the most reasonable explanation. Other than that, though, I feel like I enjoyed this series, and it kind of felt cool that 100 Thieves had a shot at beating TL, and that's the closest that we've ever seen somebody put pressure on TL. So it actually kind of makes me excited to see who will face them in the finals.
Yeah, I agree. Hopefully it's not like just a matchup thing. Like I don't I think obviously I'm saying I think C9's better. I hope C9 wins against 100 Thieves. But if C9 looks the same way that they did against TL in their first matchup, then that's boring. I don't want to see that. I'd rather 100 Thieves go than if uh if that's how it's going to play out. So I don't know. I guess we will see. We will see.
Yep. And then lastly, we have TSM versus C9 on Sunday, which was actually kind of a cool series. I didn't catch game one, but to my understanding, game one was a stomp. And then
Mm-hmm.
game two was a pretty close game where like it could have gone either way, but C9 really clutched it out at the end in like these really long elder dances, which feels kind of bad when like I believe TSM got Dragon Soul that game, and then like you just lose because Elder spawns after that, and then like you have to fight for Elder like every time that it spawns. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, congrats to C9 for keeping up the pace and keeping the gold even all the way up to that point, even though they're handing over the soul, and then they can still fight through that kind of stuff and like keep up game states where like they're not going to lose the game, and they'll just
Right.
keep trading like 2 for 2, 3 for 3, and that sort of thing. So I C9 must played really well to get out of that situation, and then game three was another stomp by TSM, which gave you like a lot of hope, and then um C9 were able to close out 4 and 5. Really interesting in game five because they came back in game five with Perks playing Irelia, even though he didn't have a good game in game three. So just really good to see that like the confidence was still there in himself and in his team. And overall, I think C9 played really well, and just TSM just didn't deserve it in the end. After even though they played a couple of strong games, but they couldn't get the third win.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. I think it's as a TSM fan, it was definitely the best I think that they've played probably all season. I think it looks really good. It feels bad because in a way you feel like, oh, they should have just won game two, right? Like that was essentially a throw. Like you most of the time you play that out. It was really weird game states and like plays that C9 was going for with like the rise ultis to take inhibs and stuff like that during those dragon dances when if it's so hard to know the right thing to do in those kind of scenarios, right? And like you have to a lot of the time you have to play it pretty perfectly to break C9 out of the holding pattern that they're putting it on. Um, and then to eventually lose, just because you haven't seen it, right? It feels kind of bad. And like they had this Pantheon pick that they ran back for a game, and then it kind of showed that like it was kind of a cheese, and then C9 was ready for it the second time, that sort of thing. Like all those things put together make it feel like it should have just been a 3-0, and then you go on to play a close game 4 and a game 5 that just like slipped out of control like faster than it should have, kind of thing. That's like tough nuts. That's like how series go. You got if you can't sit and say like, oh, but we should have won. Like you can't go into game 4 and think like, fuck, we should have already won the series. But it I don't feel that bad about it. Obviously, it's like heartbreaking to not make worlds and lose it in a game 5 fashion like that. But it's I think obviously C9 deserved it, but it was a hard fought series for sure.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I feel like both teams fought valiantly, and then TSM showed their strengths, and then C9 showed their strengths as well. And I'm kind of happy to see them go to Worlds as well. And I also think that narratively, I'm probably more happy that C9 goes to Worlds over TSM, because sometimes I actually don't care about the TSM players, because I don't really care for Lost. Sword Art, I don't have an attachment to him. Power of Evil, I still miss Bergson. And then Huni is like, it could be interchangeable for me. I feel like if that was Hanser or some other top laner, I almost wouldn't care. So the only person who I cared about missing worlds from TSM is Spica, and maybe I and parts of me, like it's a shame that Sword Art isn't going to go back to worlds. But
Yeah.
other than that, I'm really more happy that the C9 players get to go. I think, Blabber has been to Worlds a couple times already. Perks gets to return to Worlds when his former team doesn't get to go. Sven came to NA in 2019. He hasn't been to Worlds in almost 3 years now, and now he finally gets to go back as well. This is going to be Vulcan's second time at Worlds with a much stronger team, and Fudge's first time at Worlds. So
Yeah.
overall, that's like really exciting to me. And then I guess we can transition from here. Is there anything else you want to talk about for TSM versus C9?
Yeah, I'll say on the topic of those, the world storyline, I guess I disagree with you. I feel like, yeah, this is definitely not one of TSM's more like iconic rosters, I guess, right? The rest of the time, it's always been like 2 or 3, like really like TSM like face kind of players that or the whole squad is like someone that's like TSM, let's go. I want to see these players go to Worlds. But I think that's kind of what made this year's TSM like really interesting to me, is that it still felt like TSM, like still with Bjergsen like at the helm kind of, um, but getting to see these guys like who weren't historically part of that team, and watching like them like come into the role of like representing it. I don't know. It made it a little more interesting, because it was like I felt like I was rooting for the team more than like just like, oh, it's a shame that this player is gonna go or not go. You feel bad for Doublelift and Bjergsen going 0-6 at Worlds or whatever. Like I was more excited just to see like TSM as a team like try and figure out like how to play together. Um, that I would have been fine with them going and C9 not getting perks tossed 11 mil kind of thing. Like I'm down with that. And the no sneaky no worlds meme is way better as a meme if they had gotten it to play out.
Yeah, I think there's plus sides for both teams in the storylines if either one had won. And in the end, it just goes to show like how for NA it's like kind of a joke that like the NA teams only care about winning NA, but in the end, like the top teams, they just want to go to Worlds. So of course you need to try hard the region. It's not, you know, foreign players don't come to NA and then they automatically get a spot to Worlds. It's never happened like that. When mid laners from Europe have come, a lot of AD carries from Korea have come to NA, and they don't get like just a free shot to Worlds or anything like that. So
Okay, but hold on a second. Alfari literally didn't play for like 60% of the split. He's going to Worlds. Perks kind of at the same time like inted for like 60% of the split, right? He's going to Worlds. I don't know, dude. I feel like your argument isn't holding up.
yeah, I guess kind of 50-50 on that statistic there. but those are the top teams. And then honestly, now that all three of the teams are settled for who's going to Worlds, I'm pretty happy with the three teams that we've got here.
Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely think it feels like the most competitive like three that we've sent. Maybe not one team has felt like the highest high, you know? I still think I'd probably give like one of the like past couple years of like a C9 or like 2019 TL or like 2016, 2017 TSM like as like best chances to win it all, even if they're not high chances, but best chances to win it all of an NA team. I'm not sure that I feel that way about any of the teams yet now. I still feel hesitant on TL to win more than just like this playoffs. I might have them as my favorite to win the playoffs, but I don't know that that means they're going to continue to be really good. Um, but yeah, I do think, and in terms of like parity, they're all pretty good.
Yeah, I'm following you on that because, like, when in the TL versus 100 Thieves series, you can't drop games like that at Worlds if you're gonna drop games to 100 Thieves. Although they did win in a good fashion when they did win, but
Yeah.
if they're inconsistent, then that's a bit worrying for Worlds. But anyways, so next Saturday we're gonna have 100 Thieves versus C9, for the third place match, the losers finals. What do you think about here? I'll let you go first.
I feel like I've kind of spoiled what my thoughts are here. I think C9 has the better chances here. Um, just I know 100 Thieves has had good series, but I don't know that I'm sold still on them as a team. A lot of times it feels I don't know, it feels like they're almost like closer has to pop off or they bust. And I still don't feel like this is a super like jungle carry meta right now. Like there are some good carries, but it seems more like they're in the it's up to like mid jungle duos kind of stuff. And I think I would give that edge to C9 with Perks and Blabber on a good day over 100 Thieves with Closer and Abadaga. But it could go either way, and C9 has shown that they could easily lose games. So I don't know. I'd probably I think the big focus points. I think top lane will probably be a bit of a wash. I don't think they're going to play to either team will really play to it that heavily. Um, and it's going to be about mid jungle duos or bot lane. Like I think there's a good chance that FBI who he could like hard outshine Sven and Vulcan, but it's not a guarantee.
Yeah, I would agree with your sentiment that I think a lot of the focus is going to be around whether Closer has a good series or not, and whether Blabber is going to let him have a good series. I think
Yeah,
I'm really happy with the way Blabber has been playing these past couple of series matches for C9, that they've had in the losers bracket, and so it is. I think it's a bit of a toss up as well. I can't super decisively say one team or another. I'm probably more in alignment with you of picking C9 over 100 Thieves, but in the end, Cloud9 can lose some games as well, and so
yeah, that's true. We saw
and
them kind of get stomped in a few games against TSM. Like they
yeah.
lost a lot of early games.
Yeah, and 100 Thieves at least has the propensity to be able to have a good game as well. It doesn't feel hopeless. If they got 3-0'd by TL, I wouldn't be saying this, but because they were able to show some strengths or be able to show some um, like signs of life throughout a series, then I'll give them a shot, but it might be it might be a 3-1, probably in favor of C9 if I really had to guess.
Yeah,
But nevertheless, I'm actually looking forward to this series as well because we didn't see these two teams match up all playoffs, and now it really culminates to here. But either way, they're both going to Worlds, so who knows how much it really matters.
yeah. Here, let me throw you one thing that maybe I can get an inkling that this will, weaken your opinion of 100 Thieves. What if TL going into last week's series were like, okay, we've beaten C9, we've beaten TSM, we know we can beat anybody. We'll play, we'll like sandbag a little bit, not show our best drafts, not play our best strats, like going against 100 Thieves, because I mean, probably C9 is going to beat them. We think C9 is better, but maybe 100 Thieves will beat them and come back in the finals. We'll save our best for the finals. Like we'll only play like 75% power here, so they don't see our true form.
Honestly,
Think that's legit?
that's not an impossible scenario, especially because like I feel like the games that TL won in the 100 Thieves series, they're like relatively similar draft. Honestly, a lot of the picks from like this whole playoffs are really the same of like like three or four top laners, three or four of the same junglers every game, mostly the same AD carries every game, mostly the same supports every game. Like it's pretty much formulaic of like, okay, either this team plays Varus or this team plays Varus. This team has Callisto or this team has it. This team has Jin Zhao Diana or this team has it. And so
Yeah.
it kind of does feel like that it's just run it back every time. And like, so I don't know if there's hidden strategies or a different approach to gameplay, but I think TL, I don't know if TL has something up their sleeve, but when they win, they it's not a surprise how they did one. It's kind of just like fuck off tactical and everyone else go have a good time.
Right.
It's so what you presented, it's honestly not impossible. And yeah, and like we said, they already made it to Worlds, and so that's an interesting point of like, let's see if 100 Thieves can take on C9, and it'll be interesting. But in the end, I do think if anyone were to beat TL, it would probably be C9 over not 100 Thieves if they were to play again.
Even though they got 3-0'd. Or did they
Back
get?
at the
Yeah, they did, right?
Yeah, back at the start of playoffs. Was
Yeah.
it 3-0 or 3-1? I don't. It
I'm
might have
looking
been.
back. I'll find it.
I think it was a 3-0
It was a
actually.
3-0. Or no, it was a 3-1. It was 3-1. 3-1.
Oh, okay. Yeah, even then, like I feel like now that C9 has gotten some time to warm up per se, um, although they've played like what 15 games or like 13 games so far throughout the playoffs, and then they'll have to go through the losers finals as well. So there's a lot of games and a lot of practice that C9 has been having.
Yeah, that's true. And
Everything
against
is still
high
up in the
quality
air for me.
opponents. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. I think you do have to give some credit to I don't know. I still think TL has like heavy favorites to win Sunday's match, no matter who goes. Just due to having the extra prep time and the added like confidence that you sat there from winner's side, like you've been in grands, you've qualified for worlds already. I think it's definitely easier to play from TL spot, no matter who makes it there. I think.
I agree. And TL is my favorite as well to win the whole thing. I just think that between C9 and 100 Thieves, I think C9, the form that they showed me last weekend is more apt to put a fight against TL on Sunday.
Yeah,
but we'll see. We'll see. Okay, just a couple more topics for us to finish out this episode with. As we mentioned, a couple more teams have now qualified for Worlds. We've got FNATIC and LEC qualifying for their third seed, and then C9 qualifying for the North American third seed as well. Then over in LCK, they had their second and third seeds, not determined, but pretty much like it comes down to T1 and Gen G. Well, actually,
I think
none of the seeds are determined between all of their first three qualified teams because their finals goes on next Saturday as well.
Yeah.
And so, but anyways, because they still have somewhat of a point system, to my understanding, like championship points, then I believe Gen G gets to go because of that. Or
I think that at this point, it's like Damwon has qualified either through winning the split because they're already in finals, or through winning, or like they have most points. So I think it's like Damwon is either first or second, and then SKT now, or sorry, T1 now is like either first or second, because they can either win the split, right, or get the championship points the same, I think. And then you have, I think they have a gauntlet
I
still
believe so, yeah.
that is like for their last two spots. I think. I honestly, I still haven't looked it up, but
I'm pretty sure Gen G is already qualified.
I think Yeah, maybe. Let's see. I'll
And
see if I can
then
Google it to figure it out.
yeah, and it's just the fourth place that's up in the air, but which is a gauntlet after the LCK finals.
Yeah, I think it's third and fourth are both out of the gauntlet. It's a King of the Hill like gauntlet bracket.
Oh, really? Okay, that's really interesting.
Yeah, from what I can tell, that's what it looks like. I don't know how you have a King of the Hill that decides two teams because you that's just I guess it's just I guess that must be what it is, right? You have you have four more teams go into the regional gauntlet, and then the top two teams from that are auto qualified. So if you have the most points outside of top two, right, you don't auto qualify, but you go into this gauntlet and start at the last game. So you're already in Worlds, but you're either third or fourth based off if you win that game. And the other three teams have to play through the gauntlet to face you. If you make it to that game, you're either third or fourth, but then you have to play to determine the seed.
Okay, yeah, that sounds more correct.
So
Th-
for T1 and Genji, it's like one of them is going to be either the split champion or like if it's like Damwon is either the split champion or they go on points. T1 is either the split champion or Genji goes on points, and T1 goes on points by being the third or like yeah the top seed in the regionals. And then if T1 were to win, Genji would be the top seed in the regionals, and then the other teams below them are all going into the gauntlet to play whoever would be that third seed.
there we go. We figured it out. Like
Nice.
Sherlock.
Sheesh. It's too complicated though.
Yeah.
Just have double elimination, top three, top four. Easy peasy.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm still anxious to see what happens in LPL. They've got great teams over here there, like FPX, EDG, WE, RNG. There's still a lot of their teams are still fighting for the final spots to determine who goes to Worlds. To my understanding, I wonder if their determination is like NAs of just like whoever wins is gonna go. But I no one has qualified yet from LPL, so I actually have no idea how their system works.
Yeah, I also don't know. Let's see if I can figure that out also by just looking at this final final page here.
Yeah, and while you do that, speaking of LPL, some article came out today by a website called The Upcomer, which is a website or an article written by this guy named Fion on Fire, I believe, on Twitter.
Mhm.
And he wrote that plans have changed for the World Championship to take place in Europe rather than China for this year. And then I also saw a follow up video by Travis Gafford saying that it's it's probably very likely that that is true, and Riot will probably have a statement tomorrow. I either saw that in the article or in the video. I'm not sure where I heard that from. And additionally, because these changes are so kind of last minute, there's probably no other venue available in Europe other than the LEC studio. So it could be possible that most of the World Championship takes place at the LEC studio with no audience.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy, I think. I don't know. I guess I don't understand exactly why. It's probably just because of like COVID and quarantine and just like general restrictions making it too difficult to get every team from around the world into China in time. Be what I'd assume. Because I saw those headlines but did not read or listen or watch to any videos today. So I'll trust you more on any of those primary sources, but it's kind of feels bad for China to have that like this year was supposed to be back in China because last year they got scammed out of having a real Worlds, and now they just don't get a fake Worlds even. Feels bad, man.
Yeah, and they've already I believe today they canceled the TFT championships as well that were also supposed to take place in person. And I believe that the TFT championship is just like an online thing where I think it'll primarily take place in EU. So EU will have the good ping out of all like the competitors.
Oh
And
yeah,
so
which is really important in TFT, right? Got him.
yeah,
TFT
absolutely.
gamers. Omega Lol.
So, yeah, kind of a bummer. And then I wonder what's gonna happen next year. Of like, they're still waiting to have their Grand Worlds performance.
Yeah, NA
As
is
like
gonna get
hosting it.
scammed out of getting to host next year's Worlds again.
Yeah, so that's the point. Is that it is projected for NA to host Worlds next year, and so we'll wonder if it gets pushed back again or not. We'll see. All right, I think that's all for us today. Pretty average episode.
Yeah, we did what we had to do.
Yeah, next week will be short.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely. I'm not gonna. Actually, you know what? Maybe I'm gonna stay up to watch all the LPL games just so that I can have more to talk about LPL, so that we have more to talk about on the show. Thoughts?
Yeah, same with LCK as well. LCK finals is next Saturday.
Yeah, that's true. I'd actually
Friday
be kind of
night.
hyped to watch LCK, but it always starts at 1 a.m. and I can't do that.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like if anything, I should mention that with it changing from China to Europe, there's going to be a different time zone for the World Championship, and so that'll be interesting.
Such a good time zone.
Yeah, so it's probably plus 8 or 9 hours for wherever the LEC studio is, and so maybe we can project games to take place at like 6-7 a.m. our time.
That would be like that's usually because I think LEC usually starts at like 9 or 8. Like they do like 9 on Fridays and 8 on Saturdays, Pacific time, which is just like kind of in line with how LCS does their schedule, like an hour earlier each day on the weekend. So I figure usually Worlds they start like when they have like those 6-match days, they'll start like another hour or 2 earlier than the usual timing. So it'll be like 6 or 7 probably.
Yeah. It just occurred to me that we can just go off whatever the MSI schedule was. So yeah, probably
also true.
Just like 7 a.m. ish. You could just wake up, catch the first game or something like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess that will be exciting. I'll probably still miss most of it, but that is better for us instead of it starting at 1 or 2 a.m.
Yeah, there's no chance to try and stay up really late or wake up super early to watch your favorite team get absolutely dominated in the first games of the tournament.
Yeah, I think that's probably the worst part of just like I think last year I did stay up to like 1:30 a.m. to catch the first game of like the last year's World Championship.
Yeah,
was that TSM versus
FNATIC versus TSM? Yeah.
Okay, yeah. We just got blasted.
Evelyn or Lucian or whatever and get fucking rolled, and I was like, okay, feels good, guys. I'm going to bed. It's now 2:30 and I'm depressed. Fuck.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt. Okay, and that's gonna be it for episode 26.
Hey man, don't feel so down. Now it can't be TSM that loses in that first game. It's gonna be like TL or something that gets their neck cracked by Damwon, and then we'll be fine.
Yeah, and honestly, it's not even that bad to go 0-6 Copium. It's like
Copium, true. Yeah, it's not even that bad. I mean, we're at A. We're not. No one expects us to win games. Come on, 0-6 is like the standard.
Yeah, it's tragic for sure, but and it makes it very meme worthy. But is it really that bad?
That's true. Hey,
probably.
You know what? TSM's gonna win as many games at this year's World as they did last year. Pog.
True. Yeah. Airport speed run.
Can't be
80%.
All right, dude. Wrap me up.
Yeah, that's a good title. It can't be worse. Yeah. That's gonna be it for episode 26 of On the Hunt, or 27. My bad. Episode 27 of On the Hunt, a League of Legends podcast. I hope you all enjoyed it, and if you did, be sure to subscribe to our podcast on the service that you're listening to us on if you haven't already subscribed. We'd appreciate it if you would also give us a rating or hit the like button to show some support. And it just occurred to me that one day maybe you should read all of this, but I don't know. You can find us on YouTube. I know, right? You can find us on YouTube as well as your podcast player of choice, from Apple Podcasts to Spotify and so forth. We'll see you all next week for another episode of On the Hunt.
So long.